So, how do you distill this down into a very easy to understand process? Like, what is your approach when you look at a project to go, okay, I like this science, I don't like this science. Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so each one of these cases is going to come down to the experts. It's mass torts is really means battle of the experts. So, because we're involving claims that involve products, we're going to need to put forward our experts to pretty much say how these products were defective. We'll talk about failure to warn in our claims as well, but you really need strong experts in these cases, and the majority of the cases are going to go through a Dahlberg examination. So after you get past that legal viability and you say, hey, we can win on statute of limitations and preemption, the next thing we need to win on is going to be the Dahlberg ruling. Is our expert going to be permitted to testify in front of the jury? So you're going to need to look at what was the reason and the triggering event in the litigation. So was there some sort of recall? If there's an FDA recall, that usually signals there's a serious problem, and those cases seem to be stronger. But if it's just a study that came out, for me personally, maybe one study wouldn't be enough for me to bet the firm and get involved in a case. Typically, when we see a study, we see a couple studies follow that in the years following, and then throughout the life cycle of the case, more studies come out, or there'll even be summaries of cohorts of different studies that summarize all of the different ones. So for me, typically, one study usually isn't enough for me to end up spending a significant amount of time and resources in a case, but you'll usually hear, hey, we're waiting on this next study to come out. Another thing that, in terms of science, can help is when you see the label change, right? So we could have the FDA recall. A lot of these are products, they have a black box warning. When that changes or the label gets updated, that's another strong indication that the science is going to be on our side. But when you're just relying on these, studies, my rule of thumb is one usually isn't enough, but you'll see some excitement when a new study comes out. Typically, I wait for that second or third one to come out to really validate it. And what's important is to look at that study yourself, get a copy of it and read it and see how many people were involved in that study. Was it under 100? That's going to be really tough to rely on that. But when you get the number of patients that were studied, 10,000, a couple thousand plus, that makes it stronger evidence. So that's a huge issue. And the balance of the case always hangs on whether or not our expert's going to be able to come in. So it's going to be a little bit risky, a little bit stressful until we get past that Dahlberg ruling, because the defendants bring them in every single case.